This is First Coast Math Clinic with Lesson 3, Multiplying and Dividing Integers from Unit 1, Number Operations with Pre-Algebra and Algebra Focus. The goal in this video is to identify and apply rules when multiplying and dividing integers. So let's just review integers really quickly, and I made another video that talks all about integers and the specific types of numbers. So we know integers are positive and negative whole numbers. So if we have our number line here, we start with 0 right in the middle. We've got our positive values to the right, our negative values to the left. So our integers are going to be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Negative values are going to be the negative equivalents of our positive. So -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, and -6. And you notice we don't have any decimals or fractions, so just positive and negative whole numbers. So these are the numbers we're going to be performing our operations on. So let's go through some of our rules when we're multiplying and dividing integers. Let's go through our multiplication and division rules. So our first rule is if the numbers have the same sign. So let's say we've got like a positive times a positive, or a negative divided by a negative, right? Because we're multiplying or dividing. Sign of both of these answers is going to be a positive value. So the sign of our answer is going to be positive if our two numbers have the same sign. Now, if the two numbers have opposite signs, so let's say we've got positive times a negative, or maybe a negative divided by a positive. So our numbers have opposite signs now, then the sign of our answer is going to be negative, right? So our sign here is going to be negative. And those are our two basic rules that we have that we're going to use when we multiply and divide. If we have the same sign, answer is positive. If we have opposite signs, answer is going to be negative. All right, so let's use these rules and do some examples. So we have 4 examples here, and before we answer these, let's figure out what the sign of our answer should be. So for number 1, we've got a negative times a negative. So we're multiplying two numbers that are the same sign, and whenever we multiply or divide two numbers that are the same sign, we know the sign of our answer is going to be positive. So we're going to get a positive. 8 times 7 is 56. So our answer here is going to be 56. Number 2, negative 27 divided by 3. So we've got opposite signs here, a negative divided by a positive. So the sign of our answer should be negative, and 27 divided by 3 is 9. Number 3, we've got a fraction, which is division. So any fraction is division, and 60. So we've got a negative divided by a negative, which is going to give us a positive, and 64 divided by 4 is going to give us 16. And then number 4, positive 12 times negative 6. So we've got a positive times a negative, which is going to give us a negative, and 6 times 12 is going to give us 72. So we're making our work a little bit easier just by figuring out what the signs should be before we do any math, right? So we see a positive times a negative, we know our answer is going to be a negative, and a negative divided by a positive, we know the sign of our answer should be a negative. Let's do a couple more examples. All right, so we've got 4 more examples. These are a little bit more challenging, so let's break some of these examples apart a little bit. So for number 5, we've got -2 times -3 times -5. So I'm going to do this first. -2 times -3, I'm multiplying two numbers that are the same sign. All right, so we're starting here, -2 times -3. Whenever I multiply two numbers that are the same sign, I know the sign of my answer is going to be positive, and then 2 times 3 is going to give us 6 times -5. We'll bring down that -5. Now we're multiplying two numbers that are opposite signs. If our numbers are opposite signs, the sign of our answer is going to be negative, and then 6 times 5 is going to be 30. For number 6, let's start in our numerator here because we've got multiplication and we have division. So let's start with -4 times -9. We're multiplying two numbers that are the same sign. So the sign of our answer is going to be positive. And 4 times 9 is 36 over negative 2. Now we're dividing two numbers that are opposite signs. A positive divided by negative is a negative, and 36 divided by 2 is going to give us 18. So we get negative 18. For number 7, let's do the same thing we did for number 5. Let's start with negative 3 times negative 4. So negative 3 times negative 4, we're multiplying two numbers that are the same sign. So we're going to get a positive 12. I'll bring down that negative 2. And actually, let's do it this way. So I'm going to do this as well. So let's do the negative 2 times negative 6. So we're multiplying two numbers also that are the same sign, a negative times a negative. So it's going to give us a positive. We're going to get positive 12 here as well. So we get 12 times 12, same sign. That's going to give us 144 for our answer. The number 8, let's start in our numerator. So we're going to go straight across. And let's start with negative 2 times negative 3. So negative 2 times negative 3, two numbers that are the same sign. We're going to get positive 6 times negative 4 over negative 3. So 6 times negative 4. We're multiplying two numbers that are opposite signs. We put parentheses around this, a little easier to see. So 6 times negative 4 is going to give us negative 24 because we're multiplying two numbers of opposite signs over negative 3. Now we're dividing two numbers that are the same sign. So the sign of our answer should be positive, and 24 divided by 3 is going to give us 8. Okay. All right, so this video was lesson 3, multiplying and dividing integers from our number operations unit. If you like this video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. First Coast Math Clinic.